right, I think we are on top of the hour. Let's start. Welcome to Microsoft Exchange Conference day number 2. It's also my second session today. I'm very happy to have you here. If you have any question, don't hesitate. I have my friend Michelle is monitoring the chat, and you can also raise the hands there and ask some question here. So for today, I want to speak about to simplify your Exchange administrator experience. Just a few words about me. My name is Ingo Gegenwarth. I'm working for SAP. I'm based in Germany, in Waldorf, in the headquarters. You can find here also my blog, my GitHub. We have a lot of code also here. I'm showing here is there. Yeah, if you want to reach out, don't hesitate. So, what are actually our daily tasks as an admin? We have when you think about is most of the time you always have to gather any data, doing some statistic. First, you have to retrieve data, you have to process them, you have to analyze them. Maybe you have to then also do some configuration settings there, and comparison there, and of course also modification. Let's say modification in small areas like in an organizational config, or you have to do some modification across 10, 20,000 or 30,000 users or mailboxes, like the audit delegate or mailbox permission. These are all the usual tasks you are confronted or you have to do actually. So what are actually the limitations we also see every day? When it comes to Azure AD, but this is the same also for Exchange Online here in the UI, and there are definitely improving, but the UI always has some limited functionalities. It has some advantages, but most of the time when it comes to complex operations, it has really some limited functionalities. One of the things is, of course, is filtering. Even if so, it's always the team is extending the capabilities of filtering. You will most likely will not find the right filter or the possibility to filter based on your criteria here. Also, bulk updates or performance actually for gathering data or for changing objects. There could be mailboxes, any kind of recipient. Contacts there, shared mailboxes there. After that, it's there is just a limitation here. Also, error handling. Even if you be able to modify properties on multiple objects. One of the things is again bulk update. You can't modify specific to this one object there, and the attribute or the value actually. It's more or less that you put on the same value for multiple objects. Error handling, it's also very limited because it's everything. It's HTTP based. Of course, everybody can hit F12. And then inspect, the sent and the received data actually here. This is something that you might need here for when you're opening a case for Microsoft. But these are usually the limitations you're facing every day. So what is actually the solution for you? And this is something I started also pretty early, and I can really only encourage you to look into these kind of solutions. It's PowerShell actually. Why PowerShell? Well, I started actually looking into PowerShell, and it doesn't matter if it's PowerShell Core or if it's PowerShell 5. You can look at that. Meanwhile, we get the modules, the Exchange Online modules, and also the PowerShell Graph SDK module. They are available for both versions, and it definitely makes sense because it's really meant for, or this is the way actually you can administrate or perform your daily task, or if you have a mass change, this is the way you can do it with performance. Actually, you can do your error handling, and it gives you definitely the flexibility in what you're trying, or what you're trying, what you want to achieve actually here. At the same time, when you're using PowerShell, it's not only bound to these kind of modules which are available either provided by Microsoft or from the community. Actually, you can also still use different kind of protocols. So that means even PowerShell, you can also natively use LDAP, ATSI, and PowerShell. It's and You can use it natively, means then it's definitely also much faster than using maybe the Active Directory PowerShell module. The overhead is not there, so it gives you definitely possibilities, and the community is huge. Also, one of the things I really can highlight here is Microsoft 365 DSC, the site state configuration, which is really worth looking into if you want to ensure that a certain setting are either in place, or you want to do a reporting, or you want to do a export a setting from one of the tenant, one of the workloads there, and import it to a different tenant, like in M&A scenarios or for testing purpose. Also means before you do or introduce a change, a specific setting, you might want to test it before you put it into production there in a test environment. This is something where you can work with. And of course, also PowerShell is meanwhile supported across multiple platforms. Actually, the ones I'm aware of, actually, it's Mac, Linux, and Windows. So, as mentioned before, performance, it's a huge driver actually, and I do see this actually also every day. And again, if I do a comparison, for instance, if we want to look into some discrepancy between on-prem, if you're in a hybrid between on-prem and Exchange Online, or what is in Azure AD, or in one of the different the other workloads, you can use multiple protocols and techniques. And of course, when it comes to on-prem, LDAP or ATSI is always, to be for me, it was always the fastest way for retrieve information. And it's actually also meant for, and it was built for. So that means you can use LDAP, talk directly to your domain controller, and then once you retrieve the data, you can also use the Microsoft Graph or the Exchange version 2 module, and then gather the data from specific workloads like Exchange, or if the information is there in Microsoft Graph. Microsoft Graph definitely is one of the things which is helping you here, because with Microsoft Graph you have to talk only to one endpoint, but it can retrieve data from different workloads. Whereas, for instance, yeah, for when it comes to Exchange, of course, if you want to get all the details, all the settings there, you need to connect using the Exchange version 2 module. And can be done meanwhile also in different ways. You can even use a certificate-based authentication, client credential flow. It's up to you. You can use this also for automation and for retrieving data. One of the things then is when it comes to processing multiple objects also. Of course, you can also do multi-threading. What is multi-threading? What does it really mean? Think of, let's say you want to query 30,000 users and then check 30,000 users. You want to retrieve it and then check them or process them actually. By default, you would do it in a serial. That means one after one. So that's the serial process, and this takes, of course, longer. If you're processing them in parallel, that means at the same time you're processing, let's say, instead of one user or one object, you're processing 10 or 20 at the same time. Of course, you're cutting the processing time. And this is also something you can do with PowerShell. You can, of course, you can do also with C# and stuff like this. But I think PowerShell, this is the way to go. But be careful using multi-threading. It's increasing complexity. make sure that you understand your code, and if you want to introduce your multi-threading, that you also understand how it works. When it comes to performance, also one of the things we can do daily, and this is also something, yeah, again, when it comes to server-side filter, let's say like we distinct between server-side filtering and client-side filtering. Server-side filtering is definitely you send a request, and you already mentioned in the request, hey, I want to have only, for instance, shared mailboxes, or I want to have only users with this and this that location or profile assigned to. So this is then something what the server takes and already processes internally. And for you, and we're talking here about throttling, is that for you it's only one request. For the server, it's more workload maybe, but it's only one request. And that's at the same time, you have sent only one request. You're also reducing, of course, the data which is transferred. It might not be that huge difference for you, but and for one or for 100 users or objects there. But think about if you perform some action and request against not only 100 or 100,000, for instance, it makes a huge difference. So 100,000 sums up the data which are transferred, sums up the request you're sending, and of course you might get throttled. Client side throttling. This is then also something when you retrieve the data, then you do the filtering on your side. So that means the horsepower which needs to, or the workload actually, which is done for this is actually done on your machine. So that means the memory consumption needs to be there taken into consideration, as well as the CPU. So but on the other side, sometimes you really don't have the opportunity, or you don't know because you don't have the ability to have the specific filter you want to apply or you're looking for. It's not provided, it's not cannot be processed by the server because it's too complex. It's not implemented in the endpoint here. So that means anyways, you have to use it, you have to do it on your side. And the team is working on it. When it comes to Exchange Online version 2 module, there is also the link to it there. It's still there. At the moment that client-side filtering is still the best performance there when it comes to Exchange version 2 module. So speaking of performance, now speaking of tooling, and this is actually one of the things I will come then to the presenter or to the demo here is think about every craftsperson, whatever, every plumber, every carpenter, every electrician there, they have their own tooling for their daily work. So they prepare their truck, they have everything there, and they're done. Yeah. So even every developer, they have their own environment, they have their own tools. At least they should have their own environment. Yeah. There's also one thing I can really highly recommend. Productive is not meant for developing, and it's not meant for testing. This is something I also hear every day, or not every day, but quite often here. Let's just do some testing. Productive environment, it's not meant for that. So actually, when they have all the tooling, have you ever thought about it? And what about you actually thinking about tooling? Do you customize your profiles or PowerShell profiles, or do you have a specific tool installed for your daily task for all these kinds? And this is something actually I want to come out here up with some tips and tricks. From my experience from the last years, I started with my company as an exchange administrator. And back then, I think we had there already 60, 80,000 mailboxes there. Meanwhile, we have moved to Exchange Online. We have over 130,000 mailboxes there. And my role is not only related now to Exchange, my role is meanwhile also helping developers, and I'm also have the global admin role. So a lot of stuff, a lot of things. I have also different accounts. I just mentioned this in my previous session. You using PIM, Privileged Identity Management, for different environments, different accounts, which then reduces also the risk. If one of those should be compromised, that all the resources are compromised actually. So here are my tips and tricks here. One of the things, and I can't stop saying this, and this is not only for security. This is also because I'm super lazy. And this definitely helps here. Go passwordless. And my preferred option is really use FIDO2 security keys. Why is this important? Or use Microsoft Authenticator app. Why is this so important? Those authentication mechanisms, they provide strong authentication. So that means if there is a service or you configure a conditional access somehow, which enforces MFA for any reasons, you don't have to do this at this case in these cases, when you are signed in with these, because strong authentication is already strong authentication. You don't have to provide again or don't have to do MFA again unless you have totally misconfigured your conditional access. So definitely here, it's my personal thing. This little key, I have two actually. One is the backup, and one is the primary. Actually, you can store over 100 accounts on it. It's a biometric, means there with your fingerprint. If you don't want to use your fingerprint, you're paranoid. That's fine, absolutely. You can use your PIN. The point here is, I just have to plug it in. I just have to tap it. Provide my fingerprint or your PIN, and then I have already an access token with strong authentication. The next thing here is, once you have done this, and this is the reason why I'm saying here, hey, wait, why is he now showing me here add the work or school account? The reason is here, if you add the work or school account to your Windows machine, and you provided at that time already the strong authentication, these credentials are stored on your machine. And when we go a little bit more further, you can here sign in. You can see here sign in. The Microsoft apps can be signed in. If you then on top of that make sure that these credentials can be shared on my device, means that when I try to establish an Exchange Online connection, for instance, let's say connect-exchange online, and then provide with the user principal name, and I have here my account, even if it's not my personal account, if it's my administrative account, it will be used, and then you don't have to provide again MFA. You can just sign in like a single sign-on. The same applies also to when you're using the PowerShell SDK graph module. When you do a connect MG graph, it's the same thing. Just make sure that my device, share across device, these kind of credential is turned on. Once this is done every day, and to really every day it is this is my task, because we also on top of that we're also using conditional access evaluation means that even my not only that my administrative role get removed, also the session got revoked. I have to provide the again sign in. Just using this, it's easy, and that's definitely one thing I can really highlight here. Use this and makes life easier, even if you have multiple accounts. One of the things I have to mention here is, before the demo is, you can add only up to 3 accounts on your machine. So let's say like here, this is a Windows 10 machine or Windows 11 machine actually here. When you go here to accounts and then scroll down, access worker school account here, I have here already added 2 of those accounts. One of them is Christy, which is just a normal user, and she's also using this user using PIM to activate their Exchange administrator role or different roles. And of course, I have here also this admin, which is the global admin for this tenant. They just added, and when you just look, just search for, come on, no, I was too fast. Shared across device. This is something what pops up here then. Let's say at the moment there is nothing, everything is fine, and here are actually the settings. If a session is revoked, and I will show you this then after the session there, it will ask you here about the, there is a sign-in problem, and you just have to click sign in and sign in again. Once you do this, yeah, with strong authentication, everything should be fine. I can't do this here as here. That's the only drawback here. If you're using a virtual machine, you can't forward, at least I'm not aware of any supported way of forwarding the security key to the virtual machine. And I have not enabled phone sign-in because I'm missing some phones here for this account. Of course, the other phone, what I'm using here is my work phone, is already joined to a different tenant. I can't use this here. But yeah, that's a way of for the account when it comes to accounts that you're using to simplify this. Just edit and you're getting rid of all these MFA prompts here. Let me just share another one, or then come on to the next topic here. I mentioned the PowerShell is really the way to go for. And the PowerShell can do a lot of the things. And even the last month, yeah, I looked into and found, hey, there are even different ways I can tweak. So long story short, PowerShell has different profiles. Different profile means, it depends on which profile. Each profile has definitely different purposes. If you look at the in the screenshot here, you can see there is for all users, all hosts, all users current host, or for the current host, that means different layers. What I'm saying, or what I want to say here is, if you create a profile, it's just actually in PSI, PS1 text or a PS1 file, and you can already customize this here in a certain directories. It depends on where you put it in. Then you can customize your profile, and you have already functions in your in each session, or it depends on where you want for every user, or on a specific machine, yeah, or even for system wide, only for users or for system wide. In my example, actually, or what I'm using, it makes sense to have it here just for the current user, but means for all hosts in this current user actually. So that means every time I open a PowerShell, it will read the information here. One of the things here again also is in the tips and tricks. What you can do is, you can see this here in the screenshot. There is one of the what I configured here is I don't want to deal with TLS or lower TLS version lower than 1.2. So that means in the .NET Service Point Manager, I defined already that the security protocol, or that I'm always using TLS 1.2. This is just easy here. Again, here in this case, I want to speak about the PS default parameter values. PS default parameter values is great actually. In the slides and in the section comment section, there will find also the link there. Is you can define for specific CMDlets default parameters. Why is this important? I can give you the example. My machine, my work machine, for instance, is only Intune managed. I'm not joined to any on-prem Active Directory anymore. So that means when I want to use, not ATSI, when I want to use one of the Active Directory modules, I would have like get AD user. I always have to provide the parameter server with with a name or with a parameter. In this case, I would just add, for every get-ad cmdlet, it's the PowerShell will provide the parameter server, and here is the value is contoso.com. So that means it's up to your environment. However, how depends on how your environment Active Directory namespace is. You would just add the namespace here, and then you don't have to type it in. At the same time here, or the next value, I add here for, this is something what I also definitely use very often, the get calendar diagnostic objects, because everybody has issues with calendaring, and everybody wants to know why was my calendar item or my serial was removed, canceled, something else, who did that. And yeah, I have to use this very heavily. And I came to the conclusion it definitely helps if I also define some custom property names, but I don't want to type them all the time. So that means the custom property names, and then add preview and change highlight, which are specific attributes there for calendar items here. I don't want to type them all the time. So that means I can just run get calendar diagnostic objects there with the mailbox there. I just want to query and maybe the subject, yeah, or even I have the meeting ID. That's fine. That's all. I save my time with custom property names. Let me share this here. It's one of the things I have to say, and when it comes to the cmd or PS default. We just had this here. PS default parameter values, actually, you can add them, of course, all the time to every PowerShell you open up. The problem is, once you're closing it, it's gone. It's not persistent. The only way to get things persistent is when you add them in the profile. If you can see, PS default parameter values, I have those too. If I would add something else, just let's say we want to do, I just add something, add funky stuff. I don't know, this same deal doesn't exist, right? So, but there is also a parameter, I don't know, it's called server. This is the one of the things here, and then I would just add in blah. This is here. So if I check here, I have this already here. Let's maybe increase the size so that everybody can see this better, hopefully for you. Before, I had the PS default value, and there was only the 2 entries here. Now I just added another one. The theme dealer doesn't exist. The point here is this is only existing in this session. If I close it or if I open a new one, it's not there. That's one of the reasons why you just need, or you have to add it to your profile. And the profile actually looks here. You can also here have these kind of, let's say, this is the profile I'm using, and this profile can be found actually in the documents, Windows PowerShell, and there is the profile. This is where I created it. I can open it with Notepad just to make sure, not easy. So it's the same. It is here, and every time I'm starting PowerShell, it will use this one. And import also, of course, all the functions which are here, right? So you have it all the time. And here, this is with this, you can also as mentioned, for instance, there in the previous session here, I can also already get here enable my PIM role. Means I enable specific roles there for my tenant, for my user account. Usually, just to give you a short idea how it is, everyone can just go in. I'm assuming we're using PIM. I'm signing in here as Christy. I can check here my roles, which roles I'm eligible. I have here these 3 groups. At the moment, I don't have any assignment. It's totally easy if I just go ahead and do enable PIM role. It's connecting to Exchange Graph, to Microsoft Graph. I give my user principal name for this account, and I can do at the moment list my active roles, means which are currently active. Same like as I just did in my in the portal. I can also do just my eligible roles. So then I can see, as I just mentioned in the portal, is the same view. So and now that's the thing. If you add the account to your Windows machine and you share it across the other device, you don't have to sign in again, because now I'm just want to enable my role. Let's say the Exchange administrator. It's also tab autocomplete. I just have to do something else. Of course, I'm restricted in 8 hours. Let's say like for 2 hours. Verbose, do an FL. With this, now I'm just using my PowerShell profile, the shared credentials, and I'm using the PowerShell SDK. And I'm activating my role for 2 hours for daily work. The justification is also here. And when I go back in my, we have here active assignment was null. It's nothing. It just takes a while until the portal recognizes it. It's there. And you can see it's 5:32 for me, your German time here, and I activated it for 2 time. It's active for 2 hours. So it's just a comment, just one comment you just issued, and you enabled your Exchange administrator role. Yeah, as mentioned here, it's not only your profile. You can also import or you can write your own helper functions. What I did, and this is also something you can find on GitHub here. I shared this, and it's up to you. You can use personally, definitely look into the code before using it by yourself, just to make sure it's not malicious. That's definitely, I would check if it's not written by one of my colleagues or myself. Trusted source. Always review and then check. You can import them just quite easily. You create your custom function, whatever you want. As I just mentioned here, also for the calendar items, retrieving these calendar diagnostic objects, I already added here the parameter. I can also perform or the format the output, which is provided by these kind of tools. And here, just to mention here, these are the helper functions. For instance, I just managed, I just checked. Here's an example. I just also run a get managed folder assistant log here. This is just written by myself. It's not quite really a lot of things. What is it doing actually? It's just doing actually here using the export mailbox diagnostic log. But maybe just right back because I just started this session. One of the major things I was doing is just connect, or let's do it like this. First, I'm gonna do an import the helper function. This is import helper function is actually also something I customized in my profile, which loads from a specific file just these kind of function. And all of a sudden you will see then here, there's a timestamp. With this, I customize my prompt. And you can see even here the process ID of this PowerShell window with the time and in UTC, the process ID, and even if it's elevated, yes or no. And if I do now, I connect blah, which is just one of the function just for connecting to Exchange Online. And as mentioned, that's the only thing, drawback here. As I have not provided strong authentication, I have to provide it right now. Just let me sign in real quick. Approve it. Come on. Okay, it's approved. And now, as I customized my prompt, not only with the timestamps here, I also have here in the top. Let me say it like this. Can you see this? So here you can see I have a lot more information added. So if I have my time, I'm connected to Exchange Online. If I would connect to the security portal, I would have here different. I would have here STC, and I know which user I'm here. I know if this uses the RPS session. RPS is the old way using the WinRM. I know even the Exchange version module, which is shown here. This is what I customized here, and this is actually one of the things I can just highlight, and I can only encourage you look into these kind of things for automation. And actually, with this, I'm done. I would be open now for question. Do we have some question here in the chat? If you want to know, if you want to speak up, it's up to you. The import helper function, yeah, there is the example. Let me show you. Import helper function. So I have, let's like this. Yeah, I have downloaded the. You can find this kind of helper function. You can find on GitHub. I have this shared on GitHub. And I just downloaded it here on the file. It's in the documents. So in each profile, I want to have the import function, the helper function. For instance, I can even have in my profile get auto version D, auto D version 2 for specific email addresses if you want. Let's see. Where is it? Bear with me. Import helper function. Man, I was just here. It's actually, that's why I also added all the functions in the file helper function. When you look at it, those are global. Of course, I'm just using the .NET sourcing for implementing those or importing those. That's actually one of the things. It's just quite easy. Of course, you have to adjust. This is one example. You can adjust this, however you want to. Yeah, Andreas. Thank you also for sharing it. Yeah. So let me have a look. Okay, I think this is pretty much all from the no more question here. Then just recap. Please, please, please go passwordless. Use your FIDO2 security keys. It makes life so much easier. And also secure. And also, if you want, definitely have a look at PIM, Privileged Identity Management, and customize your profiles. Also, think of it's for your daily work. Doesn't matter if you're just an admin, or let's say just an admin of for one company. It can help definitely also if you're an admin or if you're a consultant for many companies. Look into that. You can automate things and you can make your life much easier. Think about it. You can also what I just have here in also MS Office token there for PIM. For connecting, you can customize your prompt. You can do pretty much everything. For connecting to Exchange Online, you can also use certificate. Use certificate sign in. Of course, it has to be here in the on the machine installed. Up to you. With this, is there a specific brand for the FIDO key? No, actually. I have no concerns, or I have actually no insights. Actually, this is more my identity colleagues. Yeah, maybe can comment on that. But I personally use a FIDO key, which is FIDO key with biometric, because I still think it's okay. I'm fine with with the fingerprints, and it's I just have to touch it. If I use it with a pin, think about, you have to plug it in, you have to touch it, and you have to enter your pin. And depending on the policies, a pin can be also pretty complex. But yeah. Why would you do with the legal department to check if there any regulation audit requirement if your org with going passwordless? Can't comment on this right now, but yeah, of course, it's there might be some reason. I don't know off the top of my head now, some reason, but yeah. Thank you for attending. Please give me some feedback. I hope definitely that you take some advantage, and yeah, if there is anything, don't hesitate, ping me. Okay? Thank you.